If you're a cyclist in Montreal, you've probably experienced certain spots that don't feel super safe. I wanted to know exactly where the most dangerous areas are for cyclists. So I got the data, and here's what it shows. The 4 intersections that have had the most collisions involving cyclists are spread across the city, from the Sud-Ouest to Ville-Marie, Outremont, and the Plateau. The data is from 2023 to 2025. Our first stop is in Saint-Henri at the corner of Rue Saint-Jacques, Saint-Antoine-Ouest, and de Courcelles. This intersection had 7 collisions over 2 years, the 4th highest on our list. As soon as I pulled up, I witnessed this close call. A cyclist cutting diagonally across cars to make it to the bike lane on the other side of Saint-Jacques, after he rolled on what was a green light for cars, but a red for bikes. This is a complicated intersection. There is a lot going on here. 3 major roads converge. Cyclists going between Westmount and Saint-Henri intersect with vehicles and cyclists heading to and from downtown. What may have contributed to the number of incidents is that 2 years of road work just wrapped up here this spring, and part of that work was to make it safer, including the closure of a passage that westbound vehicles used to make U-turns on Saint-Jacques.
This kind of configuration was pretty dangerous, but now, like with this redesign of the intersection, really it's get safer for everyone.
Off to our next stop, Saint-Urbain, President Kennedy Avenue, and des Maisonneuve Boulevard, in the heart of the Quartier des Spectacles. This intersection had 9 collisions between 2023 and 2025, the 3rd highest on the list. Cars approach the intersection from 3 different directions. 3 cycling routes also meet up here, including the unprotected Saint-Urbain path, which stays close to vehicle flow, putting cyclists in a vulnerable situation.
Cyclists are literally thrown in traffic, going downhill at pretty high speeds, and then crossing Maisonneuve and President Kennedy closely one after another while motorists are trying to turn right.
It's not clear when people have the right to turn, when the people have the right, need to yield.
In 2014, an incident here made headlines when a cyclist narrowly escaped with her life after being hit by a truck. Local cyclists blocked this intersection in protest that day. More than 12 years later, the Saint-Urbain bike path is now more clearly painted, but the part after the intersection is blocked by construction, forcing cyclists to merge with vehicles.
This is specifically a part of the bike network that is one of the only ways to get downtown and really needs to be upgraded.
There were plans for the Saint-Urbain bike lane to be upgraded to a protected path in 2027. The city is now re-examining that as part of its bike lane audit. Next, we head to Outremont, to Chemin de la Côte Sainte Catherine and Avenue Beleuil, which had 10 collisions over those 2 years, the 2nd highest. There are 4 lanes of traffic here along a bi-directional bike path, but the biggest problem is cars turning onto Beleuil Avenue. When a driver wants to make a turn across the bike lane, they have to watch out for oncoming traffic and bikes coming from both directions.
That is a perfect mix for incidents to be happening.
When drivers take a left turn, this is one of the most dangerous turns you can take with accident for cyclists.
The borough says a recent in-depth analysis of the bike path found several issues and says the city's urban planning and mobility department is now working on finding solutions. Turns are also the biggest hazard at our final stop at Rue Gilford, St. Denis, and Rue Villeneuve in the Plateau. There were 14 collisions here between 2023 and 2025. The problem spot is on the west side of St. Denis. There are 2 intersections very close together, and cars turn right across the city's busiest bike path onto Rue Gilford.
And that's where collisions can happen, because even though motorists are supposed to yield to whatever user is going straight, that does not always happen.
1 million bikes roll along the St. Denis bike path every year, so it's not entirely surprising that the higher volume brings a higher number of collisions. Last year, new bollards were installed on both sides of the intersection. The Plateau Montreal borough says it's to better guide motorists and discourage sharp turns. Despite the higher number of collisions at these intersections, they're not necessarily where Montreal cyclists say they feel most at risk.
I think the concerns of cyclists are often on other areas that are less traveled and that cyclists will avoid altogether.
It's hard to not talk about Park Avenue. We've installed the most amount of, there's no other place that we've installed as many ghost bikes as on Park. Park is absolutely a deadly place.
The last 13 years, we have lost 13 persons. We have to make sure that this does not happen again.
The city is looking how to make Avenue du Parc between Jean Talon and Pine more secure. Same for the bidirectional bike path on Rochelle, which many cyclists and drivers want improved.
When more people use it, it's less safe. Bidirectional bike path force me as a car driver to look in two ways.
Cycling infrastructure all over the city is also being examined. Road users were asked for their input through a recent online survey. It had an interactive map where people could mark where bike lanes should be added, removed, or improved.
Papineau-René-Lévesque, Ontario-Papineau.
On Barry.
The Berry bike path, Rue de la Commune.
Where Côte Saint crosses the Ticariac.
Everywhere on Papineau or on Sherbrooke.
Researchers at Safe Mobility found nearly 20% of Montreal's intersections are very hazardous, shown in dark red on this map. Improving the city's cycling infrastructure is of course part of the solution, but there are things that cyclists and drivers can do as well to reduce and prevent collisions. One of those for drivers is limiting distractions, which are actually the #1 cause of collisions, according to SAAQ. The driving code also states that drivers do have a responsibility to look out for cyclists on the road, as they are so much more vulnerable.
You are doomed to share the roads with people who don't go at the same speed as you, and it's going to be growing. So get used to it, take your distance, and be chill.